earlier, Drew on the playback was excited. He was screaming. He was tweeting about my silence on the on the playback. And now he's silent. So now we're gonna start it off with Lakers and Grizzlies recap game one. Lakers won 128 to 112. So Drew, give us your tired analysis.
So hopefully I sound all right. We know that we've been
Drew,
having
hold up,
some
Drew.
some
Before you
technical.
go, happy birthday to our brother, Mr.
Oh,
Rivio over here. Before we go, we
great
got to
call.
give him a
Great
happy
call.
birthday shout out. Got 3 minutes left in the comments. See you, happy birthday, Riv. But go ahead, Drew.
That's a great call out, Dels.
Joel, I absolutely
That's what I'm
love
here
that.
for.
I'm happy that you could do that because Rivio Foreign absolutely deserves that recognition. A legend was born today. So happy birthday to you, King. So to talk about my Lakers, and yes, I am I was in a way more energetic state of mind prior. I wish you guys would have been there for that, or for those that are tuning in that didn't get a chance to watch the playback. I was euphoric. I had an amazing time. And it's always fun watching the playback with my buddy Joel Moran because he likes to get extremely what's the word I'm looking for? I guess he jumps the
Animated?
gun.
Animated?
No, he jumps the gun a little bit. Because he understands that. I guess he fails to understand that a game is 4 quarters, and when things start to go, his side's way early on, he tends to get a little bit excited, but he forgets who the Lakers are. We're a second half team. More importantly, a third quarter team. Since the trade deadline, we've been one of the best third quarter teams in the association, and it's a nice fresh taste in my mouth for the sole fact that we were a garbage third quarter team last year, and at the trade prior to the trade deadline. And now that we come out of halftime and we come out with energy, it's excellent to see, and it's been great to see us consistently do it. So of course I was ecstatic because I was told that this series is supposed to end in 5. So hey, if Joel firmly believes that the Grizzlies go 4 straight against the Lakers, hey, I'd be more than impressed. However, I just don't see that happening to the point where this is all I've been saying is with the Grizzlies, they lack size. We killed them on the glass today. What I also said very adamantly was that Anthony Davis was going to have to assert himself. And there was that brief moment where right before halftime, AD goes out. He has like a stinger in his arm. Thankfully, that's all that it was. But he comes back, and really what he was so amazing at was the defense. 7 blocks today. 7 blocks today, 3 blocks away from a triple-double. He was fantastic. 21, 11, 7, and 3 steals. Defensively, he was a menace. LeBron James, right? Everyone's starting off. He's not shooting the 3 ball that well. I think he started the game 1 for 6. Still ended up shooting 50% from the field, finished with over 20 points, had double-digit rebounds. It's a LeBron James game, but really what stole the show was Austin Reaves and Rui Hachimura. Rui Hachimura going 5 of 6 from 3, scoring 28 points, most points off the bench in Laker history. We watched history today on the playback. Not only just Rui Hachimura, but for the fact that Joel Moran, for the first time in my life, I saw him speechless. That was history to me. And, of course, Austin Reaves, Mr. Regular Reaves.
Hey, Drew, I'm sorry to cut you off, but do you not remember that Jets game where he was talking mad shit for the first half?
Oh, I was speechless for that. Yeah.
He was completely...
I was more speechless.
I wasn't there for that. There's nothing in my mouth. I don't know. People saying that there's something in my mouth.
No, you said some wild shit earlier, but
you did say some nut shit.
Oh, did I? Oh, it's leaving a great taste in my mouth. There's a bad taste in your mouth. There's a great taste in your mouth. Can you guys grow the fuck up for the love of Christ? Any which way. Austin Reaves, Mr. Regular Reaves, right? That's what we should start calling him. Or really irregular Reaves, because that's what he actually is. When you actually tune in and you watch the tape, you understand who Austin Reaves is. And Riv, I know it's your birthday, but I'm sorry. It's 12 o'clock midnight. Your birthday's over. You're not getting a pass no more. It's time to be accountable, all right? Have some accountability in your life.
Jordan
because what you've done is done nothing but slander Austin Reaves' name, and all he did today was quiet you in his playoff debut because that was so important to you. So what did he do in the fourth quarter? He scored 14. What did he do at one point? Scored 9 straight points for the Lakers. It got to the point where everyone on the Lakers said, here you go, Austin. Close this one out for us, young king. Close this one out. Austin Reaves, right? And it's like someone was telling you that Austin Reaves was like that. And it was like someone was telling you that Rui Hachimura is a great role player. It's like someone was telling you this for weeks now. But again, you guys refuse to listen. It's just a taste. Let's not get excited. It's game 1. But I'm telling you, today was, oh, I bet you do. Today was just putting you guys on notice to understand that the Lakers are better and have been better than what you guys are giving them credit for all along. So again, let's not count our chickens before they hatch. It's game one where we looked great. I'm ecstatic. Defense looked fantastic. Offense looked really good. And they're scoring 30 points in the first quarter when LeBron James really wasn't – apologize. When LeBron James wasn't even cooking like that. We had an amazing game all around. I couldn't have asked for anything better. Jaren Jackson killed. To talk about the Grizzlies real quick, Jaren Jackson killed. He did his thing. Did not matter. Jaren Jackson could do whatever he wanted today. But really what it came down to is, of course, that injury to Ja at the end of the game. That was brutal. But we did a great job even prior to the injury of limiting Ja Morant, of taking away his floaters. What his favorite thing is to drive to the basket, let that floater go. We did a great job of limiting that. Vandal did an excellent job defensively on him. But really what it came down to was Anthony Davis and how amazing he was defensively. But the two stars, Austin Reaves and Rui Hachimura.
Now, Riv, I understand you got called out. And let's just to clarify something. Jordan Poole had 30 points in his playoff debut.
Oh, how you going to steal what I was going to say?
I'm sorry. I just feel like that needed to be mentioned. You know, the guy that you've been shitting on all season.
Did I mention Jordan Poole?
I don't think you did, though.
Oh, you said Austin Reaves is better than Jordan Poole in your tweet. Yeah, and Poole had a better debut at a younger age. Now,
I like the vibe.
Out of the 10 minutes that you've talked,
just real quick, Jordan Poole also had 31 against the Memphis Grizzlies.
Nice,
the same team he played.
Nice.
31.
Nice. Good job, Riv. I appreciate that. Now,
guy told me to liven up. So I spoke for 10 minutes.
In 10 minutes that you spoke, the thing that you did not mention is that this series is already over. Ja Morant's hand injury makes this series over. I think it's pretty clear. He fell on that right wrist, and I understand it's just game one, but the biggest thing about it is that this is the same right wrist Ja Morant shoots with. It's his dominant hand. And if Ja Morant is not hitting jump shots, it allows the Lakers to go under more screens, and that makes it tougher to get into the paint. And I think his injury, the severity of it, definitely can cost the Grizzlies this series. The biggest takeaway for the Lakers is that Rui had an out-of-body performance, 29 points, 5 for 6 from 3. The Grizzlies were leaving him open for a reason because he's an average three-point shooter. He just happened to hit those shots. I still believe that moving forward, the Grizzlies will be happy with those shots being taken. They'd rather run the risk of doubling AD and having him kick out and letting Rui hit an open three than having one-on-one matchups with Anthony Davis. And Austin Reaves had 14 points in the fourth quarter. He finished with 23. I do think that the Austin Reaves explosion in the fourth quarter, the reason why LeBron deferred to him was, one, because I think he trusts him, and I think, Austin Reaves is a good player. There's no doubt about it. I also do think that because Dylan Brooks was the matchup on LeBron, they wanted to hunt Tyus Jones, and it was pretty clear. Every play in the fourth quarter was a screen trying to get the switch onto Tyus Jones because Desmond Bane was guarding Reaves, and they were successful in that because every time Tyus Jones got hit by a screen, he was trailing on the play, and that left it 2-on-1 on the offensive end, and that's why Reaves took over. And then the one time that Bane goes under a screen, Reaves hits a three and makes him pay. Based off of one game that I'm seeing from the Lakers, I think that the playoff rotation is pretty solidified. It's D'Lo, Reaves, Bron, AD, Rui if he plays well, and Schroeder. Vando's there in his spot minutes. He only played 23 minutes, but Ja played 30. So, you're only not getting Vando minutes on Ja for 7 minutes of the game, which is more than doable. It's manageable. And D'Lo finally had a good playoff game. It only took him until his 12th playoff game to do it, but he had a very good playoff game, 19-4-7. So the Lakers got D'Lo, Reaves, and Rui great performances. And if you have that with LeBron and AD playing well, especially for the Grizzlies, it's hard to beat this team. And for the Grizzlies, Ja's injury craters their chances of winning this series. And the Steven Adams and Brandon Clark absences were bigger than I thought. Because while Tillman did a good job on Anthony Davis, he only played 22 minutes. And the reason he only played 22 minutes was because he can't space the floor. So when he's out there, you have Ja and you have Tillman, two guys that you don't really have to respect as shooters like that, and that limits your offense. And then when he's out the game, you have these Santi Aldama minutes at the 5, and then they become really small. And the three bench players for the Grizzlies, Tyus Jones, Luke Kennard, and Santi Aldama, were all getting targeted. Tyus Jones specifically, he was really the culprit of the targeting, especially in the fourth with Austin Reaves. But Saltian Dama, when he's playing small out there at the center position, you have to double AD, and that leaves more shooters open. So unless they can get more shooting, consistent shooting from the role players, I think that, as long as Ja is healthy, let's assume like he's healthy, they definitely need to be more physical in terms of rebounding the ball. And I think that, I don't necessarily not like their game plan, because I would leave Rui open too. Like, I would do it too. He just happened to make 5 or 6 threes, which I don't believe that's a reoccurring theme in these playoffs. I don't. I think it's an out of body performance.
I said it before. I'm gonna say it again. Role players are just so important, and we're gonna talk about it throughout this whole preview. We saw it with the Lakers. Rui Hachimura, D'Lo, Austin Reaves, 3 of their key role players, Dennis Schroeder, like three of their key role players came to play. Even though Rui may not ever do it again, you just need your role players to do it for 1 or 2 games out of a stretch. Especially with LeBron not playing as great as we're used to him playing. We know he's going to come back, play great next game. AD also. So as long as you get that out-of-body experience for 1 or 2 games, that's fine. That's what a role player is for. And I talked about it before. Role players are so huge. And when you got guys like that can step up for you in the absence of the stars playing great, that leaves that gives so much wiggle room. And then defensively, like you mentioned, I thought the Lakers were sound defensively. Vando did a great job on Ja Morant, did as best job as you could. Ja Morant is one of the best players in the league. Desmond Bane down the stretch worries me. And he worries me when he's the number 1 guy. That's when he worries me. And that's why this Ja Morant injury, I think, first of all, prayers to Ja. Hope he's better. I forgot to say that. Definitely prayers to Ja. We don't want to see no injuries in the playoffs. But that's what worries me the most. Desmond Bane, when he's the number 1 down the stretch in the clutch, it doesn't look good. It really doesn't look great. And I don't expect Rui to do that again either. But now you have to be a little bit more hesitant, because maybe it might not be 5 or 6, but it could be 1 or 2. That's still going to be impactful in the game. That's still going to hurt. But Desmond Bane down the stretch, Jaren Jackson played amazing.
I was going to say, to be honest with you, I thought Jaren was the one down the stretch.
No, Jaren really came crazy. Is amazing. I expect Jaren to continue to play like that as long as he's hunting for mismatches, taking advantage when AD is not guarding him. That's what you should do. That's what you need to do. And now the weight becomes on his shoulders even more, because we said it before this game even started. He is the most important player of the series simply for the fact that he has to do so much for Memphis on offensively and defensively. Now that becomes even heightened with Ja Morant possibly missing some times. Now on the glass, he doesn't really have help. He's a defensive anchor. He's a defensive roamer. Now he has to be one of your top scorers. It's going to be tough. I think I also, because of the Ja Morant injury, have to kind of switch over and think the Lakers would win this series. Just unfortunately, the Ja Morant injury really hurts. It makes it, because if they lose this game, it would be different if they was in LA first 2 games, but now you possibly could lose Memphis, and then you got to go back to LA with no Ja Morant. That's just such a tough thing to overcome. And all that whole regular season, they played great without him. This is the playoffs. It's a different animal. You need your star player when it's done. I thought Kennard gave good minutes down the stretch, even though he was getting hunted. He 3 for 2. He can hit you with a bomb for 3 ball. That's something you want. I thought he played well. Let's speak about the Lakers for a second. Austin Reaves did have a great game. I think nobody's disputing it. I think he played amazing. It's very weird that, not you, Drew, but Drew, it's very weird that Lakers fans, when Austin Reaves plays great, they like to bring up Jordan Poole. I don't know. It's a fetish. They must like him. It's very weird. You can just praise him, say Reaves played great. I don't know how they bring Poole up every time, but Reaves had an amazing game. Rui came to play. He showed up. He just earned himself more minutes. D'Lo, I don't know why Joel hates him all of a sudden, but D'Lo
suddenly he's one of his least favorite players in the association.
D'Lo finally had a
game. You mean the same way that he was one of your most hated, Drew, and now he goes to the Lakers, and now you like him?
He's on my team.
I don't think it's that surprising of a concept to grasp.
I admit that. I say, hey, I didn't fuck with D'Lo, but now he's on my team. I accept him open arms.
I get it.
But we also have to sit here and say that a lot of people.
Hey,
Joel, come on, I'm talking. I think it's very easy to say that people were down on D'Lo. People were even saying that Schroeder should start. That's how bad he was against the Timberwolves, that people didn't want him to start this game against the Grizzlies. I was adamant. I said, hey, D'Lo's been amazing for us ever since we acquired him. We have to trust and ride with our guy. And he validated me today because he was exceptional. Where he started off slow, it did not allow him to get in his own mind. He kept shooting himself out of it. and he ended up with a great game, facilitating very well and scoring pretty efficiently.
I don't think it's a hard concept to understand that a player that I like goes to a team I dislike, and now I'm not as high on that player.
But why do you hate them?
It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's not rocket science.
Why do you hate the Lakers? Why?
What's sort of like?
Yeah, they're
LeBron
annoying.
James, Anthony Davis,
doesn't
Austin Reeves. Oh, I bet.
I've never been a LeBron James
guys,
fan.
You know,
neither have I.
You know what's funny, Joel? And you know what? I'm sorry to you, Riv, also, because I singled you two out. When in reality, Joel should have got a little bit too, because when we were on the playback, Joel had the audacity to tell me that he didn't even think the Lakers deserved to be a playoff team. In his opinion, they're not even a playoff team. Right? And he thought he was slick, thinking that I wasn't there. Immediately turned my camera and my microphone on to let him know he's caught.
Yeah, so ahead, I mean, they made the play-in. You know, you're a playing team, you could get bounced out. You're a borderline playoff team. Listen, this Lakers team without Ja Morant should be able to get past the Grizzlies with these. This should be a 5-game series. Maybe it's a sweep without Ja Morant. I mean, listen, we talked about it on the pregame, or I guess before the series started, and I got all this hell for giving both sides of the story. But the biggest reason I like this matchup for the Lakers, even though I picked the Grizzlies, was because the Grizzlies offensively, they could be beat. It's not like this is a Grizzlies offense that you're going to be fearing. It's not a Grizzlies offense that you think can shoot 40% from three and is going to hit 23s, and the Lakers aren't going to be able to catch up. That's why I like this matchup for them, because in a world where this Lakers defense has been carrying them the second half of the season, you just need to be good offensively. You don't need to be great, spectacular, you just need to be good. And today was probably their best offensive game I've seen from this unit, maybe all season long. I mean, you make 16 threes on 43% from three. I can't remember the last time I've seen the Lakers shoot that well from three. Obviously, you guys mentioned how great Morey was, 4 for 5. Yeah, and they just, I mean, it felt like everything was going in, especially that second half and down the stretch in the fourth quarter. The role players were huge, as you guys have mentioned too. And then really the rebounding and the physicality that came from the Lakers side was evident pretty early on. I mean, we talked about the size mismatch that Xavier Tillman and Jaren Jackson are really the only players above 6'8" in their rotation. In the Lakers, you have basically everybody is 6'8" outside of like D'Lo and Reaves. Like everyone's just huge on that team. So this is the series has changed now. You know, Ja Morant's going to miss probably at least one game. He said there's a chance he'll play game 2, but kind of just off his energy and his vibe, he was saying after the game how he's had to go through all of this shit this season. A lot of it his fault, but all the stuff he's had to go through this season, and now he has this injury pop up right in the playoffs. I think he went out sometime in the third or fourth quarter, and now you get a team that's a decent offensive team, you know, mediocre at best. Now you're losing your most explosive player. If they're not able to get out in transition, not able to get easy buckets on the fast break, that makes it even harder for them to score in the half-court setting, especially like Riv mentioned, when Desmond Bane is your number one option. Even though Jaren Jackson was really the number one option, if it's Jaren Jackson and Desmond Bane, that's just not really a serious playoff offensive duo, with all due respect to those guys when you're going up against some of the best offensive players and best players in the game, especially even though the Lakers didn't have a great games from AD and LeBron. It was really the role players carrying them. It just shows that when things are clicking for the Lakers, they could keep up with anybody. I think this series, like I said, changes. If I had to, change my pick, I go to the Lakers now with the Ja injury. But obviously, this is puts a much bigger emphasis on, I think the future of the Lakers for this playoff run, that you almost could overlook the Grizzlies in a sense, and you could kind of take a peek to that second round when you can be playing a completely different team, whether that's the Warriors or the Kings. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, Drew, but let's be honest here. There's no reason the Lakers should lose this series, but it's going to be fun to see how the rest plays out.
Yeah, this game was a roller coaster of excitement, pain, more excitement, hope as a Grizzlies fan, rooting for them, and then more pain, of course, when Ja, 5 minutes left, looks like he broke his hand. He may or not have. I thought the Grizzlies were winning this game. When in the second quarter, they go on a huge run. They get turnovers. They're making huge plays. Luke Kennard's getting offensive rebounds. And then it all hit the fan in the third quarter. And one thing I did try telling you guys is, while I don't trust many of the Lakers role players like D'Angelo Russell, he's going to be streaky. Austin Reaves is a playoff player. Like, to have him as a third or fourth piece on a starting lineup, we saw in this matchup, he's one of the best wings in the game attacking closeouts. And I think to the pass to Reaves and Hachimura, that was some Steve Nash shit behind his back, forward extending. It looked like a pretty good player in that game. Though. And he was finishing through contact. What we're seeing from Austin Reaves is he is the third best player on a contender right now, which I did tell you guys. And a lot of people are trying to pray my downfall. They're hating on me. They're trying to bury me. The reality is he is their point guard. He is their point guard. D'Angelo Russell is their shooting guard. And he's going to close more games. He's going to start all these games. He's going to continue to play. And when he's making 3 or 5 3-pointers, he's a guy that can't be played off the floor. He has the versatility. And to now think that Ja may miss game 2, I mean, this shit's going to get ugly fast. The Grizzlies lose their offensive and defensive rebounding. In transition, I wanted them to run this game, run. And Anthony Davis and LeBron had 10 total blocks, so they couldn't really do that too well. The shot selection was spotty, and it felt like a little bit of a big brother, little brother matchup in some instances where Desmond Bane was 6 of 18. Dylan Brooks' shot selection was poor. This was a pretty bad game for me.
Another year of your team not winning a ring. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, the Nuggets right now are beating the crap out of the Timberwolves.
Yeah, he's a Grizzlies.
Well, John, I appreciate your support for the Grizzlies. I know that you had to wear a Grizzlies colored T-shirt on the podcast today. And ultimately, you're right. The transition was a big thing. The Grizzlies need to get transition points. They're a transition reliant offense. And when they only have 17 transition points in the game, it limits them a lot because in the half court, we see their struggles. It's either a Jaren Jackson post touch or a high pick and roll with Ja. And if Anthony Davis is hedging on the screens, then it really limits Ja's drives, and you don't really trust kicking out to shooters all that well. So I understand where you're coming from. But ultimately, I think you're right. If Ja is missing this series and is injured for this series, I think if he's just injured, even his presence with a broken right wrist, with a hampered right wrist, your shooting hand.
It's not broken. X-rays are negative.
They were negative, but even
right.
if your wrist is hampered and you shoot with it for an already historically non-shooter, it's going to be very difficult to come back from that. And it's going to be rough for the Grizzlies half-court offense specifically. If they can get lucky in transition and really thrive in that area for the series, then the tide might change. But given how playoff basketball is more so half-court oriented, then it's a big concern for Memphis, and I don't trust any player outside of Ja, really. I think Jaren Jackson had a great offensive game, but I don't trust him at all.
I don't know if he's going to drop 30 all series.
He got 38 minutes in.
Last 2 things I'll say about the topic, and then we can move on. You mentioned it. Steven Adams and Brandon Clark missing are huge because last year what we saw was that when Ja Morant went out, they still had a pretty healthy team. Of course, you lose Ja Morant, but they still were able to have success with Steven Adams, with Brandon Clark, and then Tyus Jones taking over point guard responsibilities. I think now where, yes, Tyus Jones becomes the liability defensively, offensively, he still is able to get things going and initiate an offense. It'll be interesting to see that. But second thing I want to say is it's even more unfortunate. Of course, one, Ja is a star in this game. You never want to see a star go down ever, regardless of what it is. It hurts in this scenario, but even more so because now it's taking away from the Lakers and how great they looked. And it hurts me because now it's giving you guys an out. It's giving you guys an out to now automatically flip to the Lakers. And it's so quick how every single one of you guys did it.